And if I say, I don't know, that's why I'm coming to you, and you say, all right, you like me, then that's the next step. As long as you give the person a chance to get the brain in here. Right now, I'm full of emotions. And until I get the brain in here, I'm just going to be emotional. So that's the opportunity. That's what we're trying to do. That's the first step of the He's someone that understands. Because I mean, this stuff that I
challenge that.
There's a lot when we're working in self-esteem. Go back and forth, and there's an accident or you can't do that as far as I'm concerned, going over one
once they get so stressed, now they're going to be
Do you have to plug in this?
Why would they think now I'm more willing to be vulnerable if I feel that you're
change direction, or to tell where you're going, but
that's what our process is.
It'll tell you, like, it'll show like the red, it'll show the road red if there's a traffic jam ahead of you, but it won't tell you how to avoid it, you know, if it doesn't know where you're going.
The only problem with babies we tend to be the power solvers, they tend to be we fall into that trap rather than helping to develop. I want to protect my fix it. Now I'm going to and
But I could plug it in. I can plug it in. I can do that. But it's
Yeah, but it's still gonna, yeah, it goes to battery. The rotation on, and then you're on the app,
That's how I do it.
well, that's what I think, that's what I found helpful for me.
How good, you guys get to both practice?
I think so. I never got
All right, you feel understood? Rodney Dean, I get nervous about it. Okay, so to wrap up, we're going to debrief now how we did our role play here. Okay, so the first thing we want to check is, does the other person feel you understand them? And what that means is, do they feel a trust with you? That you aren't there to judge them. They feel safe with you because they think you do understand how they feel. Now, you don't have to agree with them, right? You know, they may be doing things that aren't right. But if you build the trust that they understand how they feel, now they're going to be willing to share with you what's below the surface, what's going on. Because what happens if they don't establish a trust? They don't quite trust you. They've got your attention, but they're not really sure you really are on their side. What's going to happen in the problem-solving process? Right, they're going to hold back. They're going to be defensive. I was telling Anna, they may not even tell you everything because they want to kind of look good. Like, you know, hey, it's not my fault or not my problem, right? But if they feel safe with you, you do understand how they feel, they might be more willing to be than objective and say, well, gosh, I did this. Do you think that could be why they're so upset? You know, they're going to be more willing to trust you with what's going on, right? But the second outcome of this is if we tend to be the fix-it person, right? And sometimes we do this for our spouses in relationships. There's usually one that's a better problem solver than the other. But if we get in, because we love that spouse and we want to protect them and we want to fix things for them, we become their fixer. They never learn the emotional intelligence to handle problems, right? So you have a team of one, right? One that's just emotional with the other one who solves problems, rather than the power of two. So that's why we have to practice this so that both partners build the skill. Or even if you're coaching someone and they're new at it, you want them to develop, right? You want them to learn what you know, right? But you can't do it by just fixing it for them. You have to help them go through the process just like you did to learn how to solve problems. That make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So it all starts with feelings. How many, when you were the problem sharer, how many felt you got to the point where they understood how you felt? That the feeling, how many felt understood? Okay, maybe about half or so, pretty good? All right, so how many would say when you shared your problem, that person reflected a feeling that was at least close to kind of how you were feeling? How many felt that there was a reflection? Okay, so that's the first step, right? You seem angry, you seem upset, you seem scared, you seem concerned, you seem, outraged, you seem insulted. I mean, you can go through that list. The closer you get to it. And sometimes, if that person still keeps going in an agitated way, that means you haven't gotten there yet. You reflected once, and maybe there's multiple feelings going on. Or they need a validation. You seem angry. Boy, you seem really angry. Or you seem outraged. I mean, you got to get to match to their level so that they can then feel understood. And then you'll see them calm down. The secret to know you've done it is when they calm down. Because as long as they're irrationally emotional, can they be proactive problem solvers with you? No. The emotions get in the way, right? So when you see them calming down, that's a good signal that, okay, I think we're through the emotions. Now you can start asking, so what's the first question you ask when you think they're calmed down and more rational? Are you rational? Yeah. No! Of course I'm rational, right? What? Yeah, or not even a solution. What do you want to do? Right? What do you want to do about this? Because they may not have a solution, but they may have a first step, So don't put pressure on them, but just, what do you want to do about this? And if they go, I don't have a clue, that's why I came to you. Okay, well now you know, okay, you're not overrunning on their ideas, right? But you still have to then problem solve and say, well, what can we do? Let's brainstorm that together and you come up with possibilities. But you're always checking in. Don't let yourself get pulled into being the problem solver, right? You want them to come up as much as possible with the solution because 2 reasons. If they feel ownership in the solution, what's going to happen if they then have to go do something about it? If they feel ownership because of some of their ideas, right?
They're going to feel more passive.
Right, they're more likely to go do it. Some people will be scared to confront that person or the situation, but if they feel ownership, they feel kind of some confidence, okay, I can do this, right? And if it doesn't go well, right? If it starts, I'll try, and the first kind of little resistance, they give up very quickly because it wasn't their idea. It's almost like, man, Roy, that's a great idea, I'll give it a try, but that was Roy's idea. They'll immediately blame the other person. You were trying to help them, but they'll blame you because it didn't work, right? But if they feel it's their solution that you kind of coach them through, they'll feel more ownership to make their idea work. There's just kind of a natural ownership thing of pride that I don't want to fail, right? No one likes to fail. But the second thing is, if you've included them in it, what have we accomplished? The relationship. They trust you more. They're going to be more willing to talk with you. So when there's problems, they're going to be more willing to open up to you. How many sometimes feel like you're the last person to find out what's going on? It may be a reason because they haven't built that trust that you're kind of a go-to person for them, that they feel safe with you, right? Now, you don't want people just coming to you to dump their problems on you either, right? So that's why there's always this ownership of what do you want to do about your problem, right? You don't take the problem off them, you help them through it. Does that make sense? So there's a skill and there's experience and you build it over time, but you got to start somewhere, right? So don't be afraid to fail, right? Just keep working at it. The more you do this, as long as you know what the intent is, right? And then you know how to measure yourself. Are they calming down? Good. I think we got feelings there. Is there ownership? Good. How's our relationship? Do we seem to be stronger than we were before? Hey, that was a good encounter. God gave us that opportunity just to build a little more teamwork, right? So if you can do that, you're passing the test, right? So what about communication? Now we're tuning in to see how people are thinking and feeling, we have to understand that communication is over half is body language,
So
right?
how do we deal with that in a world of cell phones?
Yeah, which is very hard to,
Face check.
So, that
FaceTime.
first thing that Dave just said is, there's some problems that if at all possible, you solve the urgent part of it that has to be done on the phone, and then you say, let's get together and talk through the rest of it. You know, like if there's something we need to do now, I'm
I'm
just,
fine for that.
yeah, I understand. But you see what I'm saying? Sometimes there's an urgent part of the problem, and then there's more of a strategic part. This has been going on for a while. Usually things don't just come out of the blue. You know, usually there's something that's been leading into it. So if you can handle the immediate part of it, you have to do on the phone. Hey, let's get together at the end of the day, let's get together at lunch, and let's talk over what's really going on with this project or something. Be strategic. Then you are face to face, and you can see more what's going on with that person. Okay? Because otherwise, on the phone, you've got words, and you do get tone of voice, right? So the phone is a better problem-solving tool than email, right? How many times have you seen people trying to solve a problem in email? Yeah. Often people use email as almost like, again, kind of a protective, you know, I have a little bit of anonymity on this side, you know, I'm not immediately engaged, I'm kind of detached, right? Because they don't want to deal with all the dynamics going on, and they don't want to really understand how you feel, how you might sound. They just want to be right. So often people that are problem solvers in email are win-lose people, just by habit, because they want to use their words to win the argument, right? I'm right, you're wrong, and what do? If you start to see emails that start getting more and more people CC'd on the email, what are they trying to do? Build an alliance. Other people see, oh, that's what I'm thinking, so if I'm right, all these other people know that I'm right, you must be wrong, and you're isolated, right? So you have to be careful. Win-lose people will use emails as often a way to try to win the argument and document it that you are wrong and you're now in trouble. That make sense? So if you really care about the relationship, you do what you have to do urgently. And that may be an email. You get a response, 2 in the morning or something. Hey, okay, there's an immediate, yes, I can meet you at 7 o'clock, and then at the meeting, let's talk through the problem, whatever. Do the urgent parts in a more detached way. Do the emotional things together. Now, there's some people you built trust with for a long time in your life. And you can send even cryptic text messages, and they get it. Because the trust is so high,
Right.
you don't worry about that, right? So you've got to then measure, what is the trust level in this relationship? That determines how important the communication needs to be. Someone you don't know, you need face-to-face, right? Someone you know really well, it's nice to be face-to-face, but you might be able to do with less, right? In general, problem solving shouldn't be done in email. It could at least be done over the phone if there's a good trust level. But if it's a sticky wicket and it's really a tough one, we should be together, because then we've got the whole dynamics of communication going. Does that make sense? Okay. Also look at the maturity level of the person. So trust is one, maturity is the other. If you're dealing with someone who's very immature, right? They probably need you face to face so you can read some of the body language and see what they're not telling you, right? If they're a very mature person, they're probably able to communicate and articulate more what's going on, and you'll be able to get the words or whatever it is. But you see how dangerous email is? From the whole communication, we think we're being very clear in an email, and there's some emails that are better than others, but it's a risky proposition for problem solving. Email is a good information delivery system, coordination system, right? Heads up system, but not for necessarily problem solving. Okay, now, if you want to get really good, okay, at people problem solving, this is a roadmap, okay? And I'm just going to share with you the roadmap. Yeah. Yeah, you go right ahead. Yeah, it's good to see you. All right. Now, I love roadmaps because I don't like to be lost. I like to know the path to success, right? And so people problem solving seems so complex. There's so many aspects to people you think it's just, you can't understand it, right? It's just overwhelming. But actually, this is based on the psychological research done at Stanford University. There is actually a pretty predictable way to work on people problems. And this is how it boils down to. First, when someone communicates the problem, you want to use your empathic listening, right? Because there could be an emergent problem. There's emotions going on, whatever it is. So you got to deal with the emotions that are going on, right? Once you've dealt with them, then you need to know what the situation is. Now, if I have a problem with somebody, I want to communicate that problem in what we call a direct, specific, and non-punishing way. Direct means I don't beat around the bush, right? Hey, how you doing today? You know, and versus, hey, I need to really talk to you, something urgent. When I say those words, the other person immediately gets serious with you. Okay, yeah, let's talk about this, right? Specific. The best way to be specific, state your expectation and observation. So you don't get all confused. There's sometimes so much going on. Just simply say, I expected this person to be on the job site at 6:30 and it's 8:30. Where are they? Right? I'm not judging. I'm just saying maybe he got hit by a train or something. All I know is this was supposed to happen and this isn't, and the gap is the problem, right? And then I don't put a punishing part. Yeah, it's just like they always do this, you know. I put my sarcasm or whatever it is. It could be the one time they actually have a legitimate reason. And here I'm being sarcastic when there's a crisis, something's happened, they're hurt, someone in the family. So rather than mess up on that, just always the benefit of the doubt, let's see what's going on, okay? So if I know that I communicate this problem, now I can diagnose. Is it motivation or ability? Can you believe all people problems fall into two categories? Either motivation, they don't want to do it, or ability, they can't do it. That make sense? If they don't want to do it, it's a motivation problem, then what you try to communicate to that person is what? Why it's important. So we use a little acronym called TOYS. You explain why it's important to the task, why it's important to other people, maybe other people on the team, right? Why it's important to you, and then also maybe why it's important to them themselves, right? People are motivated, oh, I don't want that bad thing to happen to me. Okay, I get it now. Yeah, we got to do this, right? Or it's going to hurt the team, or it's going to hurt our work, right? You got to be careful about you. Hey, you know what you've done, it's really put me in a bad situation. They might think, okay, I guess that you're the boss, That's your problem, right? You got to be careful. You got to have a good trust level if you use you as the justification why they need to change their motivation. That make sense? But you need to have a consequence to you, because otherwise you may not be the right person to talk to them. You ever remember in school, the tattletale? Oh, Bobby did this and so and so and so, and they're just trying to get Bobby in trouble. It had nothing to do with that. Versus, Bobby hit me and I really need some help. Okay, now you're involved. There's a reason why you're the one communicating the problem. So sometimes, who is the best person to communicate this problem? You need to sort through that on your team. Who's the best person to talk to the customer? It may not be the worker, it may be the project manager. It may be Jay. You got to figure out who is the right you so that we don't have distractions in the process, right? But let's say it's motivation and you're able to, hey, they come around and say, okay, I guess we got to do something about it. Nail down who does what by when. People problems usually don't get resolved because there's no game plan to resolve it. There's simply awareness. Hey, awareness is great, but what are you going to do about it? Let's be in sync, right? So nail down who does what by when. Then, if they don't follow through, you can say, hey, you told me yesterday you were going to go over to the house. What happened? Now you start the process all over again, right? And so now we're able to use empathic listening if they're still upset about it, but we're able to keep on task with the problem. Everyone following with me on that? Mm-hmm. Okay, now let's say if it's an ability problem. Okay, ability means they can't do it. Well, the question is, why can't they do it, right? There's a level, inconvenience. They can't do it the way they're doing it now, right? You've been late to work three times this week. What's going on? No, I just, can't seem to get myself going in the morning. Well, it may be the inconvenience you're going to have to set an alarm clock. Or you're going to have to change, you're going to have to do something different, they want to go out to a big breakfast or something. Hey, in the morning, you can't get it, you just grab something and come, So inconvenience means they can't do it the way they're doing. So you ask them, well, what could you do differently? And you might work with them. Difficulty means that they have to learn how to, there's something difficult for them. They don't have the ability and they need to learn how to do it, get resources, whatever it is, Hey, you know an alarm clock? you need to buy an alarm clock, you know, that, yeah, you gotta go out the store, you gotta pay for it, but you know, you can't do it the way you're doing it, right? Now, here's the hardest part, impossibility. You ever had someone, there's something they're supposed to do, and they just, I'm not like you handle it, I can't do this, right? When they say, I can't do this, what are they really telling you?
Might be telling me the truth.
Right, and the truth hurts. They might not always be willing, so sometimes they'll pretend with motivation when it's really an ability problem, Dave. Right, inability, right? So often impossibility means, I can't do this, I'll never be able to do
They're
this.
halfway in.
This is like Superman jumping tall buildings kind of thing. You know, I'm afraid of heights, I can't do this. There's something they really don't feel they ever could. You could train them, teach them, they don't think they could do it, right? So what do you do when someone, it's part of their job and they think they'll never be able to do it? But you know that they could.
Oh, that's the difference there.
If you know that you think they could, but they don't believe in themselves or whatever, what do?
Encourage.
You follow an encouragement path. Hey, you know, I was the same way when I started 5 years ago. You show them that it is possible. So the impossible becomes possible. Hey, look at Roy. You know, Roy's struggling with this and now he's overcome it. You know, talk to Roy. He might show you how to. When they move from impossible to possible, now it's a matter of training and building confidence and doing it, right? But whatever you do, you get a game plan, you always come back to then, who does what by when. So you can follow up and say, hey, I thought you were going to go to Roy and he was going to help you with that. Yeah, I don't know, I'm kind of embarrassed talking to Roy, you know, whatever. Let's go together, you know. But you know, you got to work with them, hold them accountable, right? So you see the roadmap? By having a roadmap, I don't know about you, but when I was raising kids, when I kind of knew what I was doing to work with the discipline of my kids, I could stay really calm. When I didn't have a game plan, that's when I could get really frustrated. You will go to your room right now. You know, so when you have a game plan, whether it's with a customer or with a team member or with someone you care about or a stranger, but if you have a game plan, a roadmap, you know how to navigate the people problem solving process. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So this is a huge tool, and it can be used, again, with adults, it can be used with kids, whatever. This is human nature, right? And they did this research. It didn't matter whether they're ethnicity or age or whatever. This is just the way we're wired. So if you know that, that's a good thing. So now you just got to build a habit to use the tools, right? And you can bring in all of your instincts and what you've learned in the past and just incorporate them into that model. But what we're really doing is you're getting a life coaching certificate. That's what the 7 Habits really is. You're learning to be a life coach for yourself and for all the people that you care around you, right? That's our opportunity. So we are actually doing each of these 7 habits. We are now empathic listening for effectiveness, right? We're going to then do synergy, how to now engage in problem solving when we know how to handle emotions, right? And then we're going to get the life balance coming down the home stretch, and then we'll be ready in December. We'll get back together, Christmas party, and then we'll do a 30-day challenge. You say, what do you want to do? Now, what's your big application to this, right? So you can certify yourself. I am now fully ready to use this toolkit. It's a lifelong process, right? But I'm ready to use the toolkit, okay? So we'll have the 7 problem-solving process when we go synergy, because we need to have some process that's consistent with what we do. All right, so what we're going to do then is remember to have an abundance, not a scarcity approach to this, right? So if I don't think I have time to listen to someone's emotions, right? Just think of yourself, I better have time, because if I don't take the time now, I'm going to pay for it later, right? Pay me now, pay me later, right? So you all have now your action plans in your books. So let's take a few minutes, think of one person at home, and maybe one person at work that you could practice some empathic listening. You've got something going on with somebody, and you want to say, you know what, I'm going to slow down, and I'm going to give this a try and see if this can improve the relationship, because right now, we're not always getting things resolved the way we should, okay? So right now, take a moment. Who could you at home or in your personal life, where could you at work, someone that maybe needs some coaching, maybe they need some encouragement, and your empathic listening would be part of the coaching process. to fail. They fail to plan.
Well, it's
So
like-
get some ideas now,
Yeah, if you don't plan where you're going, you probably get there.
or won't get there.
You be wherever you go.
Wherever you are.
Yeah.
Okay, so write down, get a plan. Who could you,
Doesn't it?
Ron, do you need something to write with? Okay, you got it.
Well, it's like when you're saying possibility, that's the reason why I don't go for sell jobs, because I can't sell. I know that about me, so I don't set myself up for failure that way.
Right.
My strengths.
So think about when, not just who, but maybe when. When would be opportunities? You talk to this person at lunchtime or breakfast or dinner or on the job site. Is there certain times that you think could be more likely that you'd be able to have an opportunity to listen to them? So sometimes not just the person, but thinking the situation, time of day that would give you the best opportunity. And then be on the end of mind, what's your outcome? What do you hope to gain by being a better empathic listener? So one thing, hopefully it should improve the trust in that relationship, right? If you're a better listener. Maybe you also feel that you're able to help them become more capable of handling their problems rather than getting emotionally caught up in it all the time. Building their confidence. Whatever it is, have kind of the goal. What's the benefit of doing this? What's the payoff? Maybe it's just, it's pleasing to the Lord, and that's good enough for you. Want to please and serve the Lord, so I'm going to be a better empathic listener, right? Do I have anyone who'd be willing to share one action plan you're planning to do? Like inspire us or give us an idea? Roy, you got one?
Well, Kendra and I have been sitting back, we're closing Friday, and we talk about these goals that we want to do. There's certain things that need to get done. So I asked her, I said, you get a piece of paper, write down your most important, just make a list of the things you think we need to get done. And I said, I'll do the same.
Okay.
So we went to 2 separate rooms. She went actually to the kitchen table, that's her office right now.
Okay.
I went to the bedroom and we made these 2 lists. And there was, believe it or not, the top 3 on both of ours were the same.
Yes.
And then there was like 8 or 9 items we had on there, but they were all on there, but they were in different areas after the first 2 and 3. And now we're just setting financial areas to where we can get what we want done when we can get them done. Because of her moving from here to Atlanta each week and all this stuff.
That's hard.
Yeah, well, I'm falling back on Oscar and Juan to help me get things done while she's gone, so I've been talking with them, trying to get things done, so it's...
So now how could you add empathic listening into your process? It sounds like a good process.
Yeah. Well, we do, this is what we do, we set an hour apart, TV's off, phones away.
Good.
Let's sit down and talk. This is what we want to get done, and we both understand